From myth to reality. Tutankhamen's Tomb Curse Mystery on November 26, 1922. Howard Carter pressed his eye to a small hole in an ancient doorway and peered into darkness that had remained undisturbed for over 3 millennia. When his patron, Lord Carnarvon, asked what he could see, Carter uttered the now legendary words, "Wonderful things." What neither man could have imagined was that their discovery would unleash not just archaeological treasures, but a mystery that would captivate and terrify the world for generations to come. The tomb of Tutankhamun, the boy king who died at merely 19, was about to become the most famous archaeological discovery in history. But within months, whispers of an ancient curse would transform triumph into terror. As those connected to the tomb's opening began dying under increasingly mysterious circumstances, the discovery that changed everything, the Valley of the Kings in 1922, was considered archaeologically exhausted. Most tombs had been plundered centuries ago, their treasures scattered to the winds. Howard Carter, however, possessed an almost mystical faith in the existence of one untouched royal burial, that of the obscure pharaoh Tutankhamun. His reign had been deliberately erased from official records by his successors. Carter's obsession had nearly bankrupted his patron, Lord Carnarvon. The British aristocrat had given Carter one final season to prove his theories. It was during this last-chance expedition that Carter's water boy stumbled upon a step carved into the bedrock, the first step of a stairway that would lead to the only intact pharaonic tomb ever discovered. The tomb contained over 5,000 artifacts crammed into 4 small chambers. Golden chariots, precious jewelry, furniture, weapons, and the pharaoh's mummy encased in 3 nested coffins. The innermost, made of solid gold weighing 110 kilograms. But hidden among these treasures, according to some accounts, was something far more sinister. Tablets bearing hieroglyphic warnings of death to those who disturbed the eternal rest of the pharaoh. When death stalked the living, the first victim fell within months of the tomb's opening. Lord Carnarvon, Carter's financial backer and the expedition's co-leader, died in Cairo on April 5, 1923, officially from pneumonia, following an infected mosquito bite. But the circumstances surrounding his death were unnaturally eerie. At the exact moment of his passing, all the lights in Cairo mysteriously went out. Simultaneously, 2,000 miles away in England, Carnarvon's beloved fox terrier let out a haunting howl and dropped dead. This was merely the beginning. Arthur Mace, the American archaeologist who had helped Carter break through the sealed doorway, died shortly after complaining of exhaustion and weakness symptoms that baffled doctors. George J. Gould, a wealthy American who visited the tomb, died of fever within 24 hours of his tour. Colonel Aubrey Herbert, Carnarvon's half-brother, died of blood poisoning. Wolf Joel, another visitor, was shot dead in Johannesburg. The deaths multiplied with terrifying frequency. By 1929, 11 people connected to the discovery had died under strange circumstances. The press, led by sensationalist newspapers, began keeping a macabre tally. Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes and a believer in the supernatural, publicly declared that the deaths were caused by elementals created by Tutankhamun's priests to guard the tomb. But here lies the most chilling detail that transforms this from mere coincidence to genuine mystery. Many of the deaths shared uncanny similarities. Victims often complained of fever, weakness, and exhaustion before their sudden demise. Several died far from Egypt, as if the curse possessed a supernatural reach that transcended geographical boundaries. The hieroglyphic warning that never was as historians. We must examine the evidence with cold rationality, even when confronted with the inexplicable. The famous curse inscription that allegedly read "Death comes on wings to he who enters the tomb of a pharaoh" was likely a journalist's invention. No such tablet was officially catalogued among the tomb's contents. Howard Carter himself dismissed the curse as Tamirat, calling it a product of superstition and sensationalist journalism. Yet Carter's own experiences suggest a more complex reality. His personal diary, discovered decades later, revealed increasing anxiety about the safety of his team. He hired armed guards not just to protect against tomb robbers, but because he genuinely feared for their lives. Carter lived until 1939, dying at age 64, but his survival may have been due to his respectful approach to the tomb and his genuine reverence for ancient Egyptian culture. The most scientifically credible explanation centers on biological contamination. Sealed tombs can harbor deadly fungi and bacteria that remain dormant for millennia. Aspergillus niger and other toxic molds found in ancient tombs can cause respiratory problems, weakness, and death symptoms that perfectly match many of the curse victims. Additionally, the tomb's artifacts were often treated with toxic substances like arsenic and mercury as preservatives. The curse that defied death. What transforms this story from simple misfortune to enduring mystery is the sheer improbability of the death patterns. Statistical analysis reveals that individuals connected to the tomb died at rates significantly higher than expected for their age groups and social classes. More disturbing still, the deaths continued for decades, claiming victims who had only tangential connections to the discovery. In 1966, Mohammed Ibrahim, Egypt's director of antiquities, fought to prevent Tutankhamun's treasures from being sent to Paris for an exhibition. He died in a car accident the day after agreeing to the transfer. In 1972, Dr. Gamal Merez, Ibrahim's successor who had publicly scoffed at the curse, died suddenly after handling artifacts from the tomb. Richard Adamson, who had guarded the tomb, lived to age 77, but reported strange dreams and feelings of being watched throughout his life. Even more inexplicable are the secondary victims, people who never entered the tomb, but had significant interactions with its artifacts or key figures. These deaths suggest either an extraordinary series of coincidences or something that challenges our understanding of cause and effect. The modern archaeological perspective, contemporary Egyptologists approach the curse phenomenon with scientific skepticism tempered by cultural respect. They recognize that ancient Egyptian magical practices were sophisticated, psychological, and spiritual. Technologies designed to protect sacred spaces. The tomb's walls contain genuine protective spells, and the psychological impact of violating sacred space may have created psychosomatic effects powerful enough to compromise immune systems and decision-making abilities. Recent discoveries have added new dimensions to the mystery. Ground-penetrating radar has identified possible hidden chambers within Tutankhamun's tomb, suggesting the young pharaoh may have been buried in a tomb originally intended for someone else, possibly Queen Nefertiti. If true, this hasty burial might explain the unusual concentration of protective spells and the apparent intensity of supernatural phenomena. Moreover, analysis of Tutankhamun's mummy reveals he died from multiple traumatic injuries, possibly in battle or through assassination. Some historians suggest his violent death and irregular burial created spiritual disturbances that manifest as the curse phenomenon. The eternal question today, nearly a century after Carter first peered into that darkened chamber, the curse of Tutankhamun remains archaeology's most compelling unsolved mystery. Scientific explanations account for many deaths, but cannot explain their timing, their frequency, or their often supernatural circumstances. Coincidence theory struggles to explain statistical anomalies that persist across decades and continents. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between science and superstition. In a realm where ancient wisdom intersects with modern rationality, the pharaohs of Egypt possessed knowledge of preservation, chemistry, and psychology that we are only beginning to understand. Their tombs were not merely burial chambers, but complex spiritual machines designed to ensure eternal life and eternal protection. As we continue to unlock the secrets of ancient Egypt, one thing remains certain. Tutankhamun's tomb changed our understanding of the ancient world and challenged our assumptions about the boundaries between life and death, past and present, natural and supernatural. Whether curse or coincidence, the Boy King's tomb continues to guard its secrets, reminding us that some mysteries transcend the limits of scientific explanation. The golden mask of Tutankhamun stares out from museums and textbooks with eyes that seem to hold secrets we may never fully comprehend. And perhaps, in the end, that is exactly as the young pharaoh intended.